Hey guys, so I've been needing to do concrete roads and crossings and pads for industries and whatnot on the layout, and I've been trying to think for a while what could I use. I could use drywall putty, but I just didn't really want to use that, and it just didn't seem very realistic. And I came upon this stuff that I had lying around, and it's QuikRete fast set repair mortar. And it is practically concrete. It's supposed to repair concrete bases, and it's a really fine powder. You mix it up with water, pretty much turns into concrete, and then you put it down like concrete. And I've put a little section right over here, and I think it turned out pretty well. I sanded it, I tried to cut in it, and the texture on it is really nice. I don't know if that will focus, but there we go. It has a really nice concrete texture. Well, I'm here at the grain elevator, and this is where I'm going to be doing the concrete. I don't know about inside the shed yet, but I do know I'm going to be applying it right here. That's where I'm going to be testing it out. I'm going to start at this tie and go down here one hopper length and completely pave it and see how that turns out. So now I'm going to mix up some concrete mix, and I'll start to smooth it out and pour it on there. So I've got my water here. I'm not going to use all of it, but I'm going to use some of it. I've got my mix here. I've got a little bowl to mix it up in and a spoon. So here I'm going to just get 2 spoonfuls. I think that will be enough for this first test trial. And then I'm going to get my water. I'm going to pour it in. You don't want to pour too much in there, just because this stuff is very... it takes a while to get rid of the excess water, but it's not that difficult if you overdo it. Then I'm just going to mix it up. Kind of hard to get a good angle, but you want to mix it up, make sure the water is getting in all that cement, and that it's all getting wet and mixed. So as you can see right now, this is the kind of consistency. You want to have a bit thicker consistency than what I have it right now, but it works out pretty good. I just need to add a bit more mix to it. And I wouldn't recommend doing more than one small area at a time. But another good thing about this powder is that once you start sanding the finished product, you're going to get a lot of dust off of it, and you can use that dust to dust up rail cars or make streaking or something. So it has a second use after its first use. So I think that's pretty mixed. As you can see, it's like that. You can either let the water sit there for 5 minutes, let some water evaporate, or you can put more powder. I'm going to put more powder, and then I'm going to put it on the track. I'm also going to get a paintbrush and dip and put water on the tracks, just because they recommend to do that for best adhesion. And this stuff isn't going to adhere very well to plywood on its own. So I'm just going to make sure that the track is wetted before I put the concrete on. So here I am. I've got the concrete mixed up how I want it, and I'm going to put it onto the rails. Here we go. It's a lot. So there we go, and now we're just going to slide it out, thin it out. As you can see, it's working pretty nicely. Having to thin all that out. Get it in between the rails. Make sure it's all good. And the reason I'm putting concrete at this grain elevator, because the grain elevator I'm modeling in Huntley, Montana, it's actually completely concrete all the way down this line. I didn't want to do that, so I'm just going to make it concrete right around the loading area. And it's fine if it's not completely smooth. That can be fixed later, but it's just making sure it's all smoothed out, like so. Just and it's working out pretty well. Just thin it out, spread it out, I mean. And remember, this stuff is like actual concrete. So it's just really more fine stuff, so, you know, remember to make sure that you don't overdo it, or else you're going to have a heck of a time removing it. I think that's going to be the end of this segment of the line, and then I'm going to make my way down here. Make sure it's all flat and all smooth. And there we go. I will do the edges next, and I'll get back to you guys when I'm done. So the rail is all done. I've completely covered this section. This is one hopper length. And I put pink foam on the sides just to hold in the cement and make it even and level. And I think it turned out pretty good. Now I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to sand the top, make sure everything is smooth and the rails are clear, and then I'll cut in little edges for the flanges so the cars can roll through freely. It's been about 20 hours and the concrete has completely dried, so now I'm going to get my sanding block. And I already sanded it a bit, but I'm just going to sand it some more, make it smooth, make sure all the rails are clear, and then I'll make sure everything is all smooth. Now the reason I covered the rails is because the top layer of the cement won't be smooth. It'll have some, crevices and whatnot. So if that top layer is going to get sanded away because you need to expose the rails, then everything underneath will be smooth. So I've just been sanding it like so. Been going pretty well. It's going to take some more sanding, but for right now I can get a rail car. It's just a coal hopper, and I'm going to run it along the joints to make sure everything has a flange space, because the wheels need their flange space to operate properly. Just need to sand it down some more, and that'll be it for this episode. That's just how I do concrete and how I pour it for stuff, and that's how I'm going to be building my roads. On my roads, I'm just going to put on some black paint instead of leaving it bare. But thank you guys for watching.